Sue, Lord, not Sue. Oh, not Sue. Caroline Manzo is suing Bravo. Brandi Glanville is speaking out about it. We have a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star hospitalized at the reunion. And Alexis Bellino is filming Real Housewives of Orange County, and she's got a message for Shannon Storm's boudoir. Plus, Denise Richards is getting called out by the weed chef that served her at Kyle's dinner party. Let's get into it, honey. Oh, hi, it's me, Zack Peter, pop culture junkie, reality TV insider, published author, and host of the No Filter with Zack Peter podcast. Here I'll bring you all the latest news on the Real Housewives, deep dives into celebrity legal scandals, and unfiltered convos with your favorite stars. I've got you covered. And yes, I always keep receipts. So be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for all the latest tea. Now, let's dive in. Happy Monday, everybody. Today we are thinking of Sue, Lord, not Sue. What's going on, guys? I hope you're having a great start to your week. Woo, woo. Hope you had a great weekend. We had so much happen over the weekend. We had the Beverly Hills reunion. We were able to confirm that Alexis Bellino is back. Caroline Manzo is, filed her lawsuit officially against Bravo. I have a lot of thoughts about that. We'll go through some of it in today's episode. Maybe we'll start with Caroline. But yeah, and then Denise Richards is getting called out. Is wild. We got a lot to break down, but I did want to remind everybody that I'm going to be at the Bourbon Room on February 14th for a special Valentine's Day show. It's called No Filter, A Night of Love. We've got some very special guests. Some of your favorite reality stars will be joining me that night, along with some of my own personal pals. So if you want to come on out, get your tickets at nofilterlive.com, or there's a direct link to purchase your tickets and live stream passes down below in the description, so be sure to do that. Yeah, hopefully everyone's caught up on the traders because I'm loving it. Kate Chastain is back. I'm just been all up in the traders business. I also little flashback, I did an Instagram reel about this just to see if people had any interest, but does anybody remember what was LA Ink, Miami Ink, and then there was LA Ink with High Voltage Tattoo Shop with Kat Von D. Remember that? Kat Von D, she had a makeup line. I think it was called Kat Von D. And since then, she's kind of lived a quieter life. She's a stay-at-home mom. She had her beauty cosmetics line. She ended up selling it. Now it's no longer Kat Von D. It's still KVD, but I think that stands for kindness, vegan, Dick. I don't know what the D stands for. But anyway, they rebranded it. It's still KVD. It was still, what Kat Von D started, but she ended up selling it off, and now she's a stay-at-home mom. I believe she's written some books and did some music, but she was recently in a lawsuit. There was this photographer. So she had tattooed a photo of a jazz musician, Miles. Oh, damn. What was his name? Miles something. Let me see if I can. I remember doing the whole reel on it, but there was a photographer and he was trying to sue her, claiming well, I don't know his name off the top of my head. It was a jazz musician, Miles Davis. Yes, thank you, Gab. Miles Davis. She had tattooed a photo of him on one of her friends and then posted it on Instagram. So she, like I said, she's no longer in the public eye. She's not really involved in any of the the tattoo scene anymore, but she does occasionally do tattoos for her friends, which is something that she mentions in her lawsuit, or in the lawsuit, because the photographer sued her for copyright infringement. He's saying, hey, that was my photo. She then tattooed that onto somebody else without my permission. She needs to pay for the rights to be able to use my photo. She also posted this tattoo on Instagram, blah, 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 right? Her argument was it's actually fair use because it's fan art. It's a recreation. It's not a replica of the original. It's a drawn, fan art version of the original photo, but it's not a copy of the original photo. And so they went to court, and her argument was that it was fair use and that she should be allowed to use it, which, I mean, a lot of things are considered fair use. Media gets fair use. Copyright is a little complicated, and I think he really thought that he was going to win this. But long story short, the jury, because I didn't give people an update over the weekend, a jury did rule in favor of Kat Von D. He was trying to sue her for up to $150,000 in damages, which seems a bit egregious, a little outrageous for a tattoo, because she's like, I didn't make any money off of this. I don't like, people don't pay me for tattoos anymore. Like, I'm still a tattoo artist, but like now I just do tattoos as gifts for my friends or as gifts for people that I know, as, a favor to someone. But she doesn't have High Voltage anymore, which was her tattoo shop here in LA. She closed that down. She sold off her cosmetics line. So she's really just stay-at-home mommy doing her own thing. But so she did not end up winning that lawsuit. And then, yeah, so good for her. Congrats to Kat Von D, if anybody used to watch LA Inc. back in the day. But speaking of lawsuits, should we dive into the Caroline Manzo, Brandi Glanville of it all? News broke at the end of last week, I think it was on Friday, that Caroline Manzo was now officially suing Bravo and the affiliated production companies associated with producing Housewives and Ultimate Girls Trip. She was suing them for a toxic work environment, essentially claiming that Brandi Glanville had shoved her tongue down her throat, that Brandi had thrust her against a couch, and that Brandi had put her vagina against Caroline Manzo. These are the allegations that Caroline's now making against the network. So she's not suing Brandi, right? Because you always want to sue where the money's at, and Brandi don't have any money because Brandi be broke. So let's actually go through some of these court documents with the alleged abuse that Caroline Manzo is now claiming. I also want to remind everybody that Caroline Manzo originally, when this whole story first broke, which was a year ago, this happened last January. It's been a year. Okay. Caroline Manzo originally, because remember there were leaks that were coming out, and Caroline's like, I didn't do that. It's funny that the direct accusations, like word for word, tongue down your throat, thrusting against her, like all of those things were what was being leaked last year around this time. And I remember saying, like, it's interesting, you go back to that Kyle Richards quote about Lisa Vanderpump, when things get leaked to the press, you have to think of who does this benefit. So the terminology and the phrasing of things that are now coming out in the lawsuit wording compared to when things were being leaked last year, because obviously Brandi and Caroline couldn't talk about it a year ago because it was then pending investigation. I believe the investigation has now been complete and they didn't find anything one way or the other. So it was kind of a bit of a wash. But so I find that interesting that the wording is very similar. But at the same time, those same sources that were leaking what went down in Morocco when filming Ultimate Girls Trip were the same sources that were making it very clear that Caroline Manzo was not the one claiming sexual harassment, and that Caroline Manzo was not the one that filed the complaint against Brandi. It was very clear that Caroline had felt triggered at the time, and producers were the ones that decided to file, to file this with HR and, have some sort of internal investigation. I would assume to make sure like they're covered, but yeah. Coconut 47 is asking, nice background. Is this your new home studio? Yes, this is my new home studio. It's not finished yet. It's still in the process of coming together, but I figured while I at least have most of the pieces, we might as well start taping out of it. That way, the boys can nap while they're in the living room. I'm over in the studio. We got all the lights going. I have my background. Look at this. It's so fun. It's it's like a crocodile back. It's a black crocodile background. I'm going to get the no filter sign behind me. I have the OG blue couch. If you guys remember, if you used to watch the podcast prior to my move, this is the OG blue couch that we always tape the podcast on. So it's back, honey. We back. We in it. We get it. Okay, so let's go through some of the accusations that Caroline Manzo is making against Brandi Glanville. I'm trying to read this off of my phone. Okay, here we go. Manzo walked on set and into the film about Manzo made a conscious effort to be kind to Glanville in order to move past the argument between Glanville and Manzo. I believe earlier in that day, Caroline and Brandi did get into an argument. While on set, Manzo approached the bar to have a drink. Immediately, Manzo noticed that the castmates were drinking and some castmates appeared intoxicated. Remember, because we want to build that production gets them all drunk and shit-faced and then encourages them to behave badly. That's essentially Caroline's argument, is that the network and the production companies created a toxic environment where they encourage people to get drunk, they encourage them to behave badly, and because of their encouragement of this type of behavior, she ended up getting hurt as a result of it. She was sexually harassed by Brandi Glanville, is the claim. Okay. Throughout the trip, the other housewives would frequently comment to Manzo that she had large breasts. Interesting. Cast members asked Manzo, are they real or fake? Later that evening, Tuesday, January 24th, 2023, Manzo and her castmates retreated to a couch near the bar to watch a snake handler. Clearly intoxicated, Glanville walked over to Manzo, spread Manzo's legs, and leaned into Manzo. She then laid her hand on Manzo's inner thigh. Manzo pulled away and moved to the end of the couch. Manzo is 5 foot tall in height compared to Glanville, who is close to 6 feet tall. Exerting her dominance over Manzo, Glanville followed Manzo and sat right next to Manzo on the couch. Glanville proceeded to kiss Manzo with closed mouth. Glanville then kissed Manzo again. Manzo was very uncomfortable. Glanville then proceeded to mount Manzo on the couch, holding Manzo down with her whole body, forcibly squeezed Manzo's cheeks together, and thrust her tongue into Manzo's mouth while humping her. Manzo tried to push Glanville off her body. However, Glanville was restraining Manzo with her much greater weight, size, and strength, and was unable to free herself. Eventually, Manzo was finally able to break free from Glanville. Manzo, distraught, scared, and confused, got up from the couch. She went over to hold one of the snakes in order to distract herself from the assault that had just occurred. Manzo tried to maintain as calm as she could, all while trying to comprehend what had just happened. Here's the interesting part, though. As I'm reading this, I'm like, but there are multiple people around. There are cameras filming all of this. Again, Brandi Glanville, as far as I'm aware, I believe her legal team has tried to subpoena the footage. And Brandi and her legal team are asking for the footage and the audio to be released because Brandi feels like she will be vindicated once people actually see what happens. My initial thought when this lawsuit came about was this was Caroline's attempt to block the footage from airing. Anyone witnessed this while filming. That's the thing, Susan. If this is happening in front of the snake performers, all of the women are witnessing this. Production is witnessing this. The cameras must be catching all of this if this is happening during something that's being filmed. So my initial thought is if it were as, troublesome as this lawsuit is claiming that it was, how did nobody decide to be like, hey, Brandi, you're a little too drunk. Let's get you off of her? How did production not interfere in that moment? Production didn't interfere until way after the fact when Caroline was like, I was triggered by this, which again, remember, at the time, when the leaks were coming out, the sources, they have some of the same language as this lawsuit. Those anonymous sources were claiming Caroline was not the one that filed the sexual harassment lawsuit and was claiming that Caroline was merely triggered by Brandi, not claiming assault by Brandi. Okay, so let's continue going through this. She got up. She was trying to comprehend what happened. She went to go hold a snake. Okay. When Manzo was 7 years old, she was sexually assaulted. Glanville's sexual assault made all of these dormant and horrific memories immediately resurface. Manzo again felt like she was 7 years old and began to relive her previous sexual assault. In the context of this sexual assault, she was in a state of shock. Interesting. We did hear about this, about how it triggered a previous response, or triggered the trauma from her childhood, which is valid. And I'm not trying to knock that at all. And it's possible that Brandi's actions did trigger this and it did make her, have to relive some of that trauma, which is unfortunate. However, I don't think being triggered and being assaulted are necessarily the same thing. I think that's a bit of a gray area. But I mean, listen, I definitely empathize with Caroline. If this did make her relive that trauma, then that's absolutely valid. And I hope she's able to work through that. Manzo, overcome and distraught, then went to the bathroom to wash her hands. Brandi Glanville, Gretchen Rossi, and Alex McCord and Caroline Manzo walked into the bathroom at the same time. As Manzo stood at the sink washing her hands, Glanville entered the bathroom and came behind Caroline and forced her vagina against Caroline's buttocks. Breasts against Manzo's back, wrapped her arms around Manzo, forcibly restraining her, and began washing her hands with Manzo's hands intertwined. Immediately, Manzo tried to exit the bathroom. The bathroom door was locked. Glanville pinned Manzo against the door. Glanville pressed her breasts and vagina against Manzo. Manzo tried to unlock the door. Manzo tried to unlock the door but could not get out. Glanville repeatedly hit Manzo's hand away from the door lock. Glanville then reached around Manzo's body, then groped, grabbed, and forcibly fondled her vagina and breasts. At the time, Glanville pushed her face into Manzo's neck in order to kiss her. From inside the bathroom, Manzo cries, "Help! Help! Help! Help!" But no one ever came. Okay, this is getting a lot more dramatic than what we've heard. And it's also leaving out the part where there was alternative sources say that Glanville was making out with Brandi and had always said, "I'd kissed a woman before, but never had a woman kiss me back," or something to that effect, right? Defendant's producers are listening to this interaction on audio and even send one of them into the bathroom to investigate, but he never opened the door or took any actions to intervene and stop the sexual assault. So this is happening in front of Alex McCord and Gretchen Rossi, and Brandi's having Caroline pinned against the wall as she's screaming for help. None of the producers are engaging. She's screaming for help, but Alex McCord doesn't interject and Gretchen Rossi doesn't interject as Caroline's literally banging on the door, screaming to get out. Help, 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 help. And help is in all caps. Just so you know, the quotes are in all caps. Manzo, visibly shaken, was finally let out of the bathroom after Alex McCord saw what was going on, unlocked the bathroom door so Manzo could leave. After the sexual assault. Also, how was it that Alex McCord, who's inside the bathroom with them, was able to unlock the bathroom door, but Caroline was unable to unlock the bathroom door? Like, how was it that Alex then was like, "Oh, now she needs help. Let me then go and unlock the bathroom door." And Caroline was incapable of unlocking the bathroom door, as were the producers. So Alex had to intervene. Something about this just feels, again, you have to always come at these things with the skeptical mindset. I'm not trying to downplay Caroline's experience, but this is just, I mean, it's been a year of this now, and things that were reported last year compared to what's been, written in this, on top of, the alternative side of things that have been reported as well, with Caroline actively engaging in this behavior with Brandi Glanville and the other women. We had Phaedra and Vicky and Eva and Gretchen and all of these other women that were coming to Brandi's defense at the time and were defending Brandi and saying, Caroline was engaging in this and she, needs to have accountability for her actions as well. I just think it's a little dicey. I'm not trying to defend Brandi. I'm just trying to make sense of the allegations that are being presented as I'm reading them aloud with you. After the sexual assault, Manzo, clearly shaken, tried to gather herself together, all while thinking to herself, "You're here to do your job, and then proceeded to the dining room. At the dinner table, as Manzo was trying to regain her composure, defendant's employee Glanville screamed across the table to a crew member and producer named Laser, a married man. She said, "I want to fuck you." Okay, so Brandi yelled out to a producer / crew member, "I want to fuck you." Manzo proceeded to get up from the table. Why is that necessary? Why is that in here? Why is that in Caroline's encounter of I mean, I don't know. Manzo proceeded to get up from the table to use the bathroom once again. Glanville tried to go into the bathroom twice. That might again with Manzo. that night again with Manzo. Glanville said, "I'm going with you. You've had too much to drink." Manzo stated she was not intoxicated and that she was fine. I don't know. The alternative side said that Caroline was taking tequila shots that night, based off of what was reported. Glanville started massaging Manzo's breast, and Manzo objected, telling Glanville, "I think it's time for you to leave." Manzo stated, "I got abused." At one point, Eva, another cast member, stated, "Brandi is over accosting herself. She wants it to stop," referring to Manzo. Defendants continued filming plaintiff throughout, even though she was in distress from the sexual assault. So now she's saying that she was in distress and they continued to film her. Again, then why is Caroline Manzo's legal team not trying to subpoena the footage? If this is what they claim is on camera and this is what they're claiming really went down, again, we have to kind of be skeptical and try to look at this objectively and see both sides of it. That's the part that's a bit of a red flag to me. Brandi's legal team is trying to subpoena the footage. They're the ones that want the footage out because Brandi believes that this will exonerate her. Caroline, on the other hand, from my understanding, is not trying to get the footage. And this lawsuit looks like an attempt to not have the footage air. If you're trying to paint a narrative and you don't want the evidence to get out that proves your case, to me, that's a bit of a red flag. To me, there's something fishy about that. JB says, sounds like a lot of lawyers and PR people have muddled this story. Gonna take a while to sort through it. But here's the thing, it's been a year. They've been sorting through this for a year. Carrie says, Brandi is a sexual person, especially when intoxicated. We've all seen that. So she's totally capable of some of this. I'm sure I'm not saying Brandi's incapable of any of this. And I'm not trying to merely defend Brandi over Caroline. I'm just saying, at what point, like, I guess it really comes into a bigger conversation about consent. And, when those lines are being crossed, and if these lines are being crossed and things are being filmed, something about that, just like, I'm like, then how are these other women not interjecting? Because again, from what we've heard, most of the women on the cast, I think with exception for maybe Alex or Camille, they were not interjecting, nor were producers. Each housewife has their own producer. Production is there. Like, something about this, it just feels a bit listen, is it totally possible that Caroline was engaging with this and maybe it did start to go a little too far and maybe Brandi did make her feel uncomfortable and that did trigger something? That's absolutely possible. Why can't Bravo release it? It's not that they can't release it, Brittany. It's that they're, for whatever reason, choosing not to release it. Do you think there's any truth to Caroline also not wanting the show to air because she trashes Dina to the other ladies? Oh, I have not. Well, I guess we kind of heard that when it was airing last year. Possible. Listen, there could be multiple reasons why Caroline doesn't want this to air. This version sounds a lot worse than I remember what I was hearing from people that were directly related to the situation or that were on set that weekend. I'm trying to remember what I heard about that weekend. Oh, yes, there was even a point where, which I don't think is brought up, but so I believe Caroline, from my recollection of what was told to me, they ended the night. Production talked to Caroline, and Caroline had even agreed to film with the other women to explain what she was experiencing. And I believe that there was a whole conversation where she opens up about, the assault when she was 7 years old and how this was triggering for her. And I believe Eva and some of the other women were kind of pushing back and were kind of like, well, when do we start to take accountability for our own actions? Because if you're a grown woman and you're engaging in this behavior with another grown woman, you've both been a little intoxicated, at what point do you take accountability for your own actions? Again, I'm going off of this purely based off of recollection, so don't directly quote me. But I remember Eva was one of the ones that was pushing back. Right after the trip, we saw that Eva, Phaedra, and Vicky were posting on social media in support of Brandi Glanville. I believe Gretchen has since posed with Brandi. I think Gretchen and Phaedra did a photo shoot with Brandi. So again, this lawsuit is free publicity for Bravo. Is it though? I mean, well, here's the other thing, because somebody tweeted at me and they're like, well, why would Caroline want to sue if something didn't happen? She already got paid. She actually didn't get paid. None of the women, from my understanding, have been paid their full paycheck from Ultimate Girls Trip Morocco. Because typically, now I don't know their contracts specifically because I don't have their contracts in front of me, but typically you get paid a small advance upfront and then you get paid another advance upon completion of filming, but then the bulk of your check doesn't come until the show finishes airing. So because the show hasn't aired, I don't think these women have gotten their full paychecks. So, which could be another reason why Brandi wants this to air so that she can actually get paid. And Brandi's like, I just want to move on from my life. So let's actually read Brandi's response to all of this, because Brandi is saying she wants it out. She said, drop that footage, honey. Drop that footage. So Brandi said, she tweeted out, can we please air this fucking show already? It's so I can be vindicated. It's been a year now. Please let me live and provide. This is insane. Insane in all capital letters. Which, yeah, is true. Oh, here's an interesting plot twist. So when Brandi tweeted, or when Brandi posted on Instagram about the Traitors winning outstanding casting for a reality program, right? So Traitors season 1, the US version of Traitors, Brandi Glanville was on it, Kate Chastain was on it. Brandi and Kate were probably the 2 breakout stars from season 1. Okay. So when it was announced that they won for outstanding casting for a reality program, Brandi posted about that and she's like, you're welcome, Peacock. You're welcome, Bravo. Like, you're welcome, NBC. You guys got an Emmy for outstanding casting, and I was one of the ones that was cast on the show. Dun 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 dun. Well, Alex McCord commented on that, and she said, "Congrats." And so Brandi screenshotted that and reposted it. So it looks like Alex doesn't have any issues with Brandi Glanville. And Brandi tweeted out, Alex McCord, thank you so much for all the likes and comments over this past year. As a therapist and psychologist, I appreciate you. So Brandi makes it clear that Alex has continued to like and comment on her content. So this now seems like we have Alex McCord that has not shunned Brandi for this alleged assault. We have Phaedra, Eva, and Vicky that have, and Gretchen, because Gretchen has publicly done a photo shoot promoting, I forgot what they were. I think they were promoting Ultimate Girls Trip at one point. It was Brandi, Gretchen, and Phaedra that did a shoot together. So when you have Gretchen, Phaedra, Eva, Vicky, and now seemingly Alex McCord, that's 5 women. None of these women have come to Caroline's defense at all. So you also have to be mindful that these are the witnesses. We have Camille has said that she wanted the show to air because she says that it's a really great show and it would be disappointing if it didn't air. She said from the clips that she has seen, it's been really funny, and that it was a good. Let me see if I can find her tweets. So that she had saw clips of it and that she, definitely wanted it to air. Oh, and then when back in November, when Page Six reported that Peacock was thinking of tabling Ultimate Girls Trip Morocco, Camille tweeted out, she said, this stinks. So it seems like there's nothing in there that she thinks shouldn't be aired. Camille, you must be so upset. And then Camille said, I'm not sure if this is true. I've not heard a thing about it until now. I didn't see anything that crazy while filming that I have not seen before over the years. Ooh. Camille literally tweeted, I didn't see anything that crazy while filming that I have not seen that I have not seen before over the years. Women getting drunk and making out, probably. And then she tweeted again, I personally did not witness any assaults. Ooh, so Camille seems to be sort of defending Brandi in this as well. So does that change everything, though? Because a lot of people in the live chat right now are kind of dragging Brandi, and they're kind of making this seem like, oh, well, Brandi's overly sexual. Like Brandi probably did. I mean, listen, you want to slut shame Brandi for being a slut? I mean, that's your prerogative, but There's a difference between being, promiscuous and sexual assault. So if Caroline was speaking the truth, it means no one will get paid. They will all have a vested interest in airing the season. Sure. If Caroline is speaking the truth, it means no one will get paid. So they all, but I don't think their motivation, Camille doesn't need the money. The only one that really needs the money is Brandi. Phaedra's doing fine. I believe Eva's doing all right. Alex seems to, I don't think any of these women necessarily did it for the paycheck, nor do I think are they trying to pursue a paycheck. Otherwise, they would also be filing suits against Bravo, or at least trying to fight for, their paycheck, because I'm sure they have a guarantee in their contracts. Do you think Bravo will just settle and pay her out, or maybe that would look bad if they don't fight it? Bethany is licking her chops. I mean, typically it's cheaper to settle. So I would assume NBC is probably just going to settle with Caroline just to kind of make this go away. I think they should just air the fucking show. Air it. Literally air it. If Camille's out here claiming she did not witness anything, were they paid before they started filming or finished filming? No, Joe. So I explained, I don't know these specific contracts, but typically when it comes to these shows, they pay you a small advance up front, and then they pay you an additional advance upon completion of filming, but you don't get your full paycheck until after the show finishes airing, meaning the finale, the reunion, whatever. Once that happens, there's usually a time period where then you get the final check for what your contract says you're entitled to. This looks like somewhat of a money shakedown by Caroline. She's looking for a settlement because Bravo has the tapes, and so many of the women seem like they would testify on behalf of Bravo. That's the other thing, is if these women testify and there's no evidence or proof that this actually happened, it's only Caroline's word against the network. I'm pretty sure producers aren't backing Caroline's version of things, because if people are talking about a vested interest, why would they? All of the other women claim that they have not witnessed any of this. Even if Alex McCord, think about this, if Alex McCord is the one that witnessed this in the bathroom, according to what's being alleged in Caroline's lawsuit, where she's in the bathroom and Alex McCord is there, and Brandi has Caroline pinned against the door, and Caroline is screaming, "Help, help, help, help." And Alex has to come and unlock the door that Caroline's pinned against. Yet Alex McCord is still engaging with Brandi Glanville and congratulating her on Traitors season 1. Like, Traitors has nothing to do with Ultimate Girls Trip. The fact that Alex McCord even still follows Brandi on social media and is engaging with her content, I think that says a lot. I can see a black screen saying, after an incident between Glanville and Manzo, Brandi left the house and stopped filming. Yeah. And listen, that's how they can air. Well, I don't know. Does this incriminate them even more is the issue? Is airing the footage going to incriminate Bravo further? If anything, I would imagine they wouldn't air it until after they settle their lawsuit with Caroline. So it's possible they may just table this all together and cut it as a loss, because litigation with Caroline could take a long time. And the best thing to do, if they do plan on airing it, is to settle with Caroline, pay her money, make her sign, an agreement that she can't come and sue again. And then once that settlement's been paid out, then they can air the show. And I think at that point, people will probably watch it, and they'll probably end up making a lot more money than they would have originally. Caroline is strong enough to purposely put herself on this Ultimate Girls Trip with Brandi to shed light on the dirty side that has been said by the former cast members about production encouraging bad behavior and drinking. If producers encourage you to jump off a fucking cliff, are you going to do it and then blame production, saying, "Oh, production told me to do it"? That's the stupidest fucking argument. When people say shit like that and they're just like, "Well, production says to do this." You're grown-ass adults. You sign a contract and you agree to participate in this. That's like saying, "Oh, I'm going to go and play football in the NFL, and oh shit, I broke my ankle on the field." Well, I guess it's the network's fault. Sorry, it's the NFL's fault that I made a choice to go on the football field and wear shoulder pads, knowing that I was playing tackle football and knowing that injury was possible. I mean, obviously, that's a very vague, loose analogy, but it's like, at the same time, at what point, like, when have we stopped as a culture taking personal accountability for our own fucking actions? That's the part that's crazy to me. is it's like, oh no, it's only production's fault. They were the ones that, like, this is where I don't agree with Brandi or Caroline when they're like, producers made us do this. Producers made us drink. No, producers didn't make you drink. Margaret Josephs has been on Real Housewives of New Jersey for multiple seasons and she does not drink. She still engages in the drama though, but she does not drink. Lala Kent gave up alcohol and continues to film Vanderpump Rules. Even when encouraged, does not drink. She talks about how at the most recent finale event, that guy that threw the glass and that was unhinged at the finale, that guy kept trying to encourage Lala to take tequila shots, and Lala kept telling him, no, I'm not taking tequila shots, I'm sober. No, I'm not taking tequila shots, I'm sober. Caroline Manzo has never been drunk. Well, Crispy Treat, that's not what I've heard. That is not what I've heard. And I know some of the Jersey ladies. When the lady sued McDonald's for her coffee burning her. That was wild. That was another wild lawsuit. Remember? Whew. Just joined. Is this Zach's new studio or is this one of the swanky studios at Spotify? This is not one of my Spotify swanky studios. This is my home studio. So usually these morning tapings will be taped in my home studio. When I have interviews or guests or a big episode, I'll tape that over at Spotify. But yes, this is, and it's still in development, right? We're still building out the studio. I just figured might as well get out of the kitchen and start filming here because people are like, why are you filming in your kitchen? That looks so unprofessional. And I'm like, well, what are you doing with your life, Susan? But yeah. All right. Well, those are my thoughts about the Caroline and Brandi situation. It looks like Caroline is trying to get the footage concealed, but if Bravo does want to find a way around it, I would imagine NBC pays Caroline out and gets her to sign, some sort of agreement where she just walks away. But I think the issue they haven't aired it, because that was another thing, is why haven't they aired this yet? The issue they never aired any of this is because this was still ongoing. And as far as I'm aware, Caroline and Brandi have not filmed any confessionals. The other women have filmed their confessionals, but Caroline and Brandi have not. So I would think Caroline and Brandi would need to, do that. Lola Red says, I think Caroline was triggered from her past, however, taking it too far. I agree. See, here's the thing is I have deep empathy for Caroline, who is, reliving trauma of a sexual assault when she was a child. I don't want to take that experience away from her at all. And I believe that that's valid. And I want to hold space for her to, be able to work through that and maybe find a good therapist that can help her work through some of those emotions. I don't want to invalidate that experience with her at all. But taking it to this level, suing the network and making these grand of allegations against another cast member when, as far as we're aware, there's no one else that's validating Caroline's account of what happened. And the women that were witness to this, Gretchen Rossi and Alex McCord, who were allegedly in the bathroom while this was going on. And not only that, but also on mic. If Caroline was screaming for help, don't you think that would be caught on the mic and they would be able to use that as evidence? And don't you think they would have been able to take action against Brandi had that been what actually went down? I don't know. It's interesting. She just did exactly what Nene did by heading your nose to spite her face. Why would someone want their assault broadcast? Okay, that's another really good point that I saw on Twitter. People like, why would someone want the assault broadcast? I get that. You wouldn't want the assault broadcast if that actually happened, right? And I think that's a very valid argument. However, the point being, there was an internal investigation. Multiple witnesses were interviewed. And, everything Brandi did was uncalled for and disgusting. We don't know what Brandi did, and we don't know in the context in which that was done. If they were both drunk and making out, then it's a little far-fetched to say that Brandi was, holding her against her will if they were both drunk and they were both making out. Again, just believing, I'm sure HR research, they had to research and they couldn't find anything to really, hold Brandi Glanville accountable, nor have there been, let's remember, there have been no, as we remember with the Girardi stuff and with Erica, there have been no criminal charges filed. Caroline has not filed a police report. Caroline has not pressed charges against Brandi Glanville. Brandi has not been charged, convicted, arrested. None of that has happened. Sexual assault is a crime. Don't forget, just because somebody claims something doesn't necessarily mean, like, this is all still alleged. And going based off of the information that we have, all of the women that were on the cast, all of the production, all of the camera crews, you have cameras and audio. And if Caroline was really trying to prove her case, why is Brandi's legal team the one that's trying to subpoena the footage? And why is Brandi the one that's fighting to have it released, believing that if it's released, it will exonerate her? The married producer, I wanna fuck you tidbit was a weird addition. Thank you, Mallory. That was the other pieces. It's like, why are we even bringing that up? If Brandi says I wanna fuck you to somebody, like, I don't think that like, what is the point in bringing that up? Is that to speak to her character? Cameras follow them everywhere. They don't follow them into the bathroom necessarily, but they're still mic'd. And at that point, there were 4 of those women that were in the bathroom that were mic'd. Gretchen Rossi, Alex McCord, Brandi Glanville, Caroline Manzo. I don't know why others don't see that Caroline, who I love, doesn't want this aired because she doesn't want it to come out. This is her only way of trying to block it, release it all, mention it all. Thank you, Bianca. That was my thing. I don't think Caroline's necessarily looking for a shakedown cash grab as much as she's trying to prevent this from getting out. And listen, that is a good point about people saying, you know, why would you want your assault aired? But it's not even just that. It's not about not having it aired. But again, her legal team is not fighting for the footage or the audio to prove their case. They've made these claims, but you would think they would want the evidence to prove their case. That's not what it looks like they're doing here. All I keep thinking about is Alex McCord wearing those clumpy shoes in the bathroom. Her Louis Vuitton. Even Louis Vuitton makes mistakes, honey. Women who have no fear living their truth will always be attacked. That's another good point. And here's the thing. I think Caroline's, a little more buttoned up and Brandi's a little more free with her sexuality. And I think society wise, culturally, for all the people that like to call me sexist, I think you need to kind of look at yourself because I think people judge Brandi for being more free and fluid with her sexuality. And they want to slut shame her and they want to tear her down because she's more open with her sexuality. And that makes some people uncomfortable because I don't think you're comfortable with your sexuality. And that's why you need to shame other people for their own actions and their own behavior. So I do think it's easier for people to throw stones at Brandi because she's wearing the scarlet letter. She's the slut. She's the drunk. And when you see a woman and she's acting disorderly and she's drinking and she's being free with her sexuality, we immediately want to shame them and not want to believe their version of events. And I think it's easier to believe Caroline for those internalized biases, right? All the people that want to say I'm the sexist. I mean, come on, guys. Like, I think we also need to look internally as well. What did the Bravo internal investigation turn out, or was it inconclusive? It was inconclusive. They did, as far as I'm aware, they didn't find anything to validate Caroline's side, and they didn't really find anything to validate Brandi's side. Like, it was just kind of like it's a she said situation, and we don't have any witnesses that are really, backing up the assault claims. But again, let's go back to January 2023 when Caroline wanted to talk about it on camera, addressed it on camera in front of the other women, talked about her assault in front of the other women and why this was a triggering experience for her. And she was not claiming that this was assault. She was claiming that this experience triggered her. Here we are a year later, and now it's turned. That's a good point. She's a grandma, but the Caroline we fell in love with on Real Housewives in New Jersey is not the same. Yeah. And listen, that's probably another thing is she's probably embarrassed by some of her behavior. From what I've heard, they were taking tequila shots and she was making out and Caroline was engaging with Brandi and laughing and joking with her about being free with her sexuality. So, I don't think Caroline believes that Bravo or NBC is going to fight her on this. I think she's expecting them to just pay her out and settle. Because typically that's what they do is they just settle because it's easier and it's less expensive. Caroline seems embarrassed after the fact. That's a good point. She's been giving me Rosie O'Donnell Ellen vibes. Something else was also triggered. I mean, listen, I don't know, but it does feel like maybe some of her behavior was inebriated and, it's interesting. I'm a sexual assault survivor, but I'm also very sexually open, so I understand your stance, Zach. Thank you, Ashley, and I'm sorry you had to go through that experience. I think a lot of people here in the live chat and on the show can empathize with that. You know, we've all been through experiences that have been uncomfortable or, you know, are not even just uncomfortable, but just plain assault. You know, I've had my own experiences, and we have to work through those, and we have to continue to heal and not give any of those people that took advantage or pushed their weight, you know, power over us, because at the end of the day, we hold the power within ourselves, you know, and we can get better and we can heal and we can continue to not allow ourselves to be stuck, you know, in that state of victimization, but, you know that we have the power to keep moving forward. And that's obviously easier said than done for most people. I'm not, you know, that's a very generalized statement. I'm not trying to speak for everyone, but I'm just saying, don't forget that you do have power in you and you can overcome, you know, that experience. And you have a bunch of people that can relate to you, Ashley, myself included. And, you know, we can continue to stay strong in that. Joe Mendoza says at some point, Bravo and NBC could make an example of the reality TV folks. If they think they have a good cause, it might just fight it. So if they win, it can be, yes, they can. That is a good point to make this an example. Absolutely. However, it's a big gamble and a big risk. But at some point, they are going to have to put their foot down, because if all these Leah McSweeneys and Bethany Frankels want to come out and claim the network is at fault all these years later, you know. Crispy Treat says, if I took everyone to court who made inappropriate moves on me, I would have a season gold pass to the courthouse. I mean, that's one way to look at it. You're right. She would want Brandi charged. I agree, Sue. I think if it were really about assault, she would want charges. If it was really Brandi that made her feel this uncomfortable, like, yeah, sue the network because they created this environment, right? Okay, cool. I can see that. Sue the network. But also make sure there are charges pressed against Brandi. Why would you not fight to have charges pressed against Brandi? If Brandi really did this and made you feel uncomfortable and was holding you against the wall and you were screaming for help, and Alex McCord and Gretchen Rossi, who were in the same bathroom, didn't come to your help and defense until afterwards, and Alex McCord so easily was able to unlock that bathroom door that you were incapable of unlocking, I don't know. I have questions. Something about this story doesn't add up. Okay, so let's move on to Orange County. Alexis Bellino. I know we're approaching the 1 hour mark, so I'll try to push through the rest of these as quickly as possible, while also making sure we get into it. Alexis Bellino is officially returning as a friend of. Page Six has confirmed she will be back for the new season of Real Housewives of Orange County. She was spotted filming with Heather Dubrow and Emily Simpson. And then she posted on her Instagram, she had a little message for Shannon Storm's Boudoir, because Shannon was filming, and Shannon was supposed to film Shannon was supposed to film a scene with Jeff Lewis. She was supposed to film a lunch. And that's where they were going to talk about the John Jansen of it all. And also, I believe, talk about Alexis Bellino. But then at the last minute, Jeff Lewis was saying on his radio show that he pulled out of filming because in his release form that Bravo wanted him to sign, they wanted to make it clear that if there was any sort of legal action that was brought forth for defamation or whatever, you know, we've seen house husbands, Jim Bellino in the past sued Tamara and Heather McDonald and Shannon Beador for statements that they've made. So Bravo basically said, if we get sued, one, we're not responsible for your legal fees, Jeff Lewis. But on top of that, if we get sued, you're responsible for taking care of us if we get sued for things that you say on camera. And Jeff's like, what am I gaining from this? This makes no sense. I have to make sure Bravo's protected, but Bravo's not going to make sure I'm protected. But yet they're the ones that are going to exploit me by putting me on their television show to tell this side of the story that they have control over the edit. Bravo wanted Jeff to indemnify him. Yes. So yeah, I was just trying to break it down into simpler terms, but yeah. So Jeff's like, this doesn't make any sense. They are filming me. They're in control of the edit. They're ultimately in control of what airs and what gets said and in what context, because they have full editorial control over that. But yet they want you, they want me to indemnify you? Nah. So Jeff said no, and he said Shannon understood. But so Alexis posted on her Instagram, she posted this cute little photo of herself wearing a hot pink top. Very sexy top, showing off her Jesus jugs. And she said, go ahead, Question me. I'll give you the truth that you don't want to hear. Hashtag bring it. Hashtag speak. Hashtag truth. Hashtag I will still bring love. Hashtag pink. Hashtag Jesus Barbie. Hashtag hot pink. Hashtag yikes. So many hashtags. Jesus. So we can expect Alexis Bellino to be back on OC, which is currently filming right now. Moving on to the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills reunion. Two big things that came out of the reunion. I heard that it was long, it was exhausting. We did, which was confirmed by Bravo, we did get a cameo from Kathy Hilton, which good for Kathy Hilton. She made her grand return. I don't know why or what she comes to reveal or say because she wasn't in the season at all. But I mean, listen, I've had mixed feelings about Kathy, but ultimately she is fun. She does bring light levity and yeah, but she definitely made her return for the reunion. Again, unclear as to why or what she did or what she said, but she was there. And on top of that, so I guess at the end, towards the end of the reunion, Sutton Stracke collapsed on set and had to be hospitalized. And Garcelle went with her to the hospital and made sure she was okay. And I mean, it sounds like maybe she just had a long day. Maybe there was an issue with her blood sugar. I don't know. This is my own speculation. As far as I'm aware, Sutton is doing well. She is doing better. But she collapsed at the reunion, which I guess is a reunion first. So interesting. Very, very interesting. But yeah. Outside of that, it seemed like it was just a really long and dragged out reunion where they really get into a lot. And apparently, according to the Bravo babe, there was no cast photo for the second year in a row, which I'm not really surprised by. So it doesn't seem like there was much. I mean, I would assume there's no cast photo. If Sutton had to leave and Garcelle left with her because she collapsed or she fainted, then like, yeah, that would make sense as to why they couldn't take a total cast photo. But yikes. Glad Sutton's doing better. Glad she's recovering nicely. Interesting to see Kathy return. On the topic of Beverly Hills, though, Denise Richards was just on Jeff Lewis Live, which it was a good week. We had Kyle Richards, we had Stassi Schroeder, and we had Denise Richards all back to back on Jeff Lewis Live. Stassi, when she was on the show, actually talked about the Valley and Vanderpump Rules and saying that she won't return. She has no interest in returning, that they approached her to return. And she was like, yeah, no, I'm good. Like, appreciate it, but peace, not interested. Thank you. Next. She's like, my life is just different. I'm not really friends with any of those people anymore. I'm not going to disrupt my life. She's like, I'm good. She's like, they asked me to film the sizzle reel for it, which was the pitch to Bravo to show them what the show was going to be. And she's like, and I, with every fiber of my being, said, no, I'm good. So, dun, 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 dun. All right. Let's talk about Denise Richards, though, because she was also on Jeff Lewis Live. And so she was on Bethany's podcast, remember? And Bethany asked her originally, like, what do you think was going on at that weed dinner? And why do you think you were so high? And Denise had said, she's like, I don't know if they had accidentally mixed up my plate and snuck some weed into me, because Denise has been very clear that she doesn't smoke weed. She's not a pot girly. She loves her Casamigos Reposado. She's a drinker, not a smoker. And that weed just, I guess, doesn't adjust well with her body or whatever. So she basically alluded to Bethany that it was possible that maybe they had accidentally given her some weed, or maybe the production had intentionally given her some weed. Maybe there was weed in the water, which is fucking weird. Like, when is there ever cannabis in water and you can't taste it? Like, I don't know. It's interesting. But she was on Jeff Lewis Live. And originally she told Bethany that she had had a cocktail and she had taken some cough medicine. And that's why she was so out of it. Now the chef that cooked the weed dinner, he's come out and he's dragging Denise in a lengthy post, basically like pissed off that she would even insinuate that he would or that they would accidentally give her weed, because it does harm their business for her to go off and not say this on the show, but for her to go off on Bethany's podcast and then to go off on Jeff Lewis Live. And so his name is on Instagram. His name is The Herbal Chef. And this is what he wrote. Denise Richards, you're such a damn liar, Denise. You're such a fucking liar, Camille. It's embarrassing and you should be ashamed of yourself. Let me tell you what really happened. Denise walked into Kyle's house absolutely obliterated. Her first slurred words to me are, "Do you know who I am?" Followed by a bunch of other gibberish that we could barely make out. In every interview since the episode aired, you have acted as if you had no idea what was going on. We may have slipped you something in your food or bottled water. Really? We went over how the evening would go with you and everybody else at the table, including specifying how dosage works and that we take our responsibility very seriously, especially when someone would rather abstain from cannabis. It would be detrimental to my business if we left our guests incapacitated, don't you think? See, this should have been such a beautiful moment for cannabis and the positive influence that can have on one's life if consumed responsibly. We take pride in our work, and I've built an unparalleled level of trust with the community and world at large through years of dedication to educating our guests and the curious minds around us through seminars, dinners, expos, and social media. It is painstaking to try and showcase the credibility of the science behind cannabis and its uses. Your feeble ego can't even admit that you have something going on and arrived under the influence from something else, that you have to try and blame others instead of taking responsibility. Then you have the audacity to say, how could Kyle Richards throw this party if she's sober? Or you think Erica said that she was fucked up? You were in another realm, and it was only you, because spoiler alert, you have some deep-seated issues that you're clearly working through in your own heart. Not surprised one bit that cannabis doesn't agree with you. It has a tendency to mirror one's truest self. And the enablers, Jeff Lewis, you should be ashamed of yourself too. Did you not watch the episode and just felt it was your duty to suck up to every single person sitting across from you in that chair? I'm actually surprised you could even speak with your nose so far up Denise's ass. Look, I get it that you're trying to stay relevant to this crowd, and it's time you take responsibility and have half as much grace as Kyle and Erica and the rest of the gals on that episode. P.S. Denise, your pink jacket was upside down with the clown emoji face. And then Erica responded and she dropped a fire emoji. Ooh-wee. It's not only defamatory, it's criminal. Exactly. Damn, he went in. He absolutely went in, as he should. Denise is constantly lying and deflecting, and then they rolled the tape and proved that she's wrong. We all saw her say she didn't want any weed in her food, and now she's smearing the chef girl by. Yeah, not only that, but then Bravo even had the lower thirds that showed that Denise had 0 THC. LOL. Hearing this shady soliloquy, this sounds like coming from the herbal chef's wife, not the herbal chef himself. Yep, grateful. There's a difference between no filter and messy Jeff. Listen, I can be messy too. Denise really should not even be allowed on our TVs. I mean, listen, Denise is something else. She really is. But I just thought that was hilarious. I am with the herbal chef. You go, you out her, you mention it all. Mention it all. You could sue the shit out of her. He can absolutely sue the shit out of her. And the footage proves that she had no THC. But she was like, they must have mixed up my plate, or there must have been something in the water. And how dare Kyle have a cannabis party when she's not drinking, when she's sober? You can still be California sober and still enjoy weed, which seems like that's what Kyle Richards was doing, right? As far as I'm aware. Unless you can stream OnlyFans on your TV. Oh, no, I unsubscribed to her OnlyFans. I was going to keep paying that subscription fee. I saw enough. I saw the cooch, and I was like, all right, cool, got it. Peace. Denise seems so forthcoming the first season, and now all she does is hide. Yeah, I don't get why people are like, bring back Denise. Denise is great on Beverly Hills. Like, I don't know what people are seeing about Denise Richards that they think is worthy of bringing back on our television screens. Thank you. Next. I hope the chef understands that no one believes her story. Nobody believes it. Not Sue, Lord. Not Sue. All right. Well, that's all I got for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of No Filter with Zack Painter. You can always keep up with me at Just Plain Zack all over the internet. You can follow the podcast at No Filter with Zack. Ooh, sorry, still getting adjusted to the new studio. Follow me at Just Plain Zack. Follow the podcast at No Filter with Zack. If you want to come out to the Bourbon Room in Hollywood, February 14th, it is Valentine's Day. Come and be my Valentine. We're doing a special live taping of the No Filter with Zack Theater podcast with some very special guests. So get your tickets right now at nofilterlive.com. That's nofilterlive.com. Or there's a direct link to purchase your tickets and your live stream passes in the description below. I'm going to be live in the Bourbon Room February 14th. That is Valentine's Day. So whether you're single, whether you got a wife, whether you got a hubby, whether you got a mistress, come on down to the Bourbon Room February 14th for our very special No Filter Night of Love. I mean, it's more than just love. We're talking sex, dating, relationships, and of course, love. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that make me. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. All right. Get your tickets at nofilterlive.com. I love you. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday. I'll be back here tomorrow on Tuesday. It's going to be a good night. I'm going with my friend Andy, and we're going to another premiere tonight, so we're going to have a good time. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you later, skater. Ciao for now. Bye. Bye, 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 bye.